and welcome back to the channel. Today we're actually looking around a delightful medieval church in Mannerton in Dartmore. I actually came across the church St Winefreds as I was going across Dartmore, so please join me as we take a look around the church. St Winifred's is just one of 6 in England dedicated to St Winifred, a 7th century Welsh princess and a patron saint of virgins. The church we see today dates back to the 15th century, but there's been a church at Mannerton since 1265. A few of Mannerton's rectors have been interesting characters. Reverend John Knowlesworthy was a dissenter who took over the living of Mannerton under Oliver Cromwell. When the monarchy was restored in 1660, Reverend Knowlesworthy had to be physically ejected since he refused to leave voluntarily. Worse was to come in the 20th century when Reverend John Sanders was found guilty of selling an Elizabeth chalice belonging to the parish. The disgraced rector was deprived of office by Bishop of Exeter. The north and south aisles were added later in the 15th century, and the west tower later in that century. The tower was almost split into 2 when it was struck by lightning in 1779. Falling stonework damaged the chancel and most of the medieval class was destroyed. The tower holds a ring of 6 bells, 3 of them medieval. One was cast around 1500 and 2 more were cast around 1440 by Joanna Hill, the widow of London bell founder. One of those 15th century bells is dedicated to St George, the patron saint of Mannerton, Guild of Tinners. There are several 17th century grave slabs embedded in the chancel aisles and the nave floors. The medieval rood screen, the most interesting historical feature of St Winifred's Church, is the restored Tudor rood screen. The beautifully painted and gilded screen was erected around the year 1500. The choir screen was probably the earliest part to be painted. From north to south, this section depicts Saint Ursula, Saint Nicholas, Saint Claus and 6 apostles, Andrew St James and less Matthias St James and great Saint Bartholomew and St Paul, recognisable by his sword and book symbols. The doors depict the 4 doctors of the church, Pope Gregory, Jerome, Ambrose and Augustine. The doctors are followed by more apostles, Peter, Thomas, Philip and Simon, then oddly enough the figure of Philip followed by St John the Baptist and St Barbara. Beautiful old church. Take a look at the columns, pillars. Just that all there. Isn't that beautiful? Some old oak ceiling there. Look at that window that we saw outside. Isn't that beautiful? Still very vivid colours. Even after all these centuries. That's clearly the bell tower. It's really old. You can see by the, as I say, the arches and the pillars. Very well done, but not as obviously ornate as some, but it just shows how old the church really is. There's an old organ there. I wouldn't imagine original to the church, being that it's actually covering that gorgeous window just at the top of it going out there. Okay, a very simple ceiling, but quite beautiful nevertheless. And again, if we look at the woodwork, fretwork on this divider here, again, it's really well done, quite exquisite. Unfortunately, the gold leaf and the colours are fading. It would have been beautiful in its day. It's a pulpit. Let's take a look at the altar. Again, lovely stained glass window. Of the crucifixion. Really well done, quite ornate. The south aisle screen is much more worn, but even here you can clearly identify St. Apollonia, a Madonna and Child, St. Lawrence, St. Mary Magdalene and St. Margaret of Antioch. Much more interesting is the north aisle screen, which was painted several decades after the choir screen, sometime around 1520. It almost certainly painted by the saint's artist who also worked on the screens at Elphington and Sheraton Bishop around the same time. Figures here include St. Helena, the mother of the Emperor Constantine, and the unknown female saint, Blaise and Pilgrim Saint. All the 16th century figures have been defaced literally, for the faces were gouged in accordance with Edward VI's decree of the 21st of February 1548 that all superstitious images in churches were to be taken down, defaced or painted over. One of the wood carvers working on the south aisle screen left a signature behind. Look for the figure of a small bird almost lost amidst the surrounding tracery. Despite the efforts of iconoclasts, Maniton's screen is in an exceptional state of preservation and is a delight to see. In the churchyard is a yew tree, thought to be the largest and oldest in Dartmore. At the western end of the churchyard is a worn medieval cross, discovered at a nearby farm. This may be the same cross that was removed in the 1840s when the rector objected to it being a focus of a traditional ceremony where a coffin was carried 3 times around the cross before burial. On the eastern side of the churchyard, near the Lych Gate, stands a late medieval church house. How peaceful this is. I say you can see the moors even in the distance. We're in the moors actually, but the stonework's definitely not as ornate as some churches I visited, but it's just so old. And it's still standing, so yeah, all credit to the builders. There's a bit of view of the cottage that sits there with the thatched roof. Again, looks extremely old. Not sure it's the old as the church, but it is old. So a lovely little churchyard. Still very much original. And no work done that I can see, probably other than a leaky roof maybe at some point in time, but other than that it's just so original. I hope you found the video interesting, and the commentary gives you some insight into the church and the age and yeah, what it was all about. I really enjoyed my look around this beautiful church, and hope you did too. So please join me again. Come back to the channel in the near future, and I look forward to posting more videos while I'm down in Devon. Thanks again. Have a lovely day, and goodbye.